War veterans aligned to Comrade Blessed Geza engage Professor Madhuku taking Mnangagwa to court over the constitutional coup. Zvakutapira zvakunakidza manje. Time iya yatatakamira is always to now see this issue yakuita go through the courts has come, and it's a critical time yekuti toda kunyatsoona kuti macourts emuZimbabwe chaiwo achadhila nenyaya iyi sei, because vakomana yakaoma nyaya. This is a constitutional court. This is a constitutional challenge. This is a thing written in the supreme law of the land. Dzisina kana judge anokwanisa kuita go against, because no judge can go against the law of the land. So parichanakidza kuti the selfishness yana ziyambi nezvimwe zvigananda vari kuziva kuti they are afraid of elections in Zimbabwe, and they know that they can't survive another election again. Vakuda kutry kuita force down the throat this idea of wanting to keep their demigod in power. But maZimbabweans ari kuti ho imbomirai zvenyu vakomana, iyoyo haipasi. MaZimbabweans vari kuudza vana Ziyambi kuti this time hamulume. Saka pakaipa. So war veterans have engaged Professor Madhuku to begin the process in the courts of challenging the legality of this whole issue, and it's beginning to be very interesting. Zimlife.com reports war veterans file court challenge over cabinet approval of constitutional amendments. Right. 6 liberation war veterans have approached the constitutional court seeking to block Emmerson Mnangagwa from advancing constitutional amendment bill number 3, which would extend his stay in power. The application filed on February 16 challenges the president's role in cabinet processes linked to the controversial amendments, which were gazetted by the Speaker of Parliament on Monday. The applicants, Ruben Zulu, Godfrey Gurira, Shorai Nyamangondo, Joseph Chinyangare, Digmo Knowledge Ndia, and Joseph Chingua, accused Mnangagwa of breaching constitutional provisions by presiding over deliberations on reforms from which they say he stands to benefit personally. Prepared by constitutional law expert Professor Madhuku, the court application seeks to have cabinet deliberations on the bill declared null and void, and to bar Mnangagwa from advancing the proposed amendments. Among the most contentious provisions in the draft legislation are proposals to extend the presidential term from 5 years to 7 years, and to replace direct presidential election with a system in which parliament elects the head of state. The war veterans argue that Mnangagwa violated Section 90 of the Constitution, which obliges the president to uphold and defend the Constitution and to avoid conflicts between personal interests and public duties. According to the application, Mnangagwa acted unlawfully by chairing cabinet discussion on February 10 and approving the draft bill despite alleged personal benefit arising from changes to presidential tenure arrangements. They also claim his conduct contravened Section 196, Part 2, or Subsection 2, which requires political leaders and public officials to exercise their function in ways that maintain public confidence and prevent abuse of office. Central to the challenge is Section 328(7) of the Constitution, which bars constitutional amendments from extending the term of an incumbent president unless specific constitutional safeguards are met. The application applicants argue that any amendment aimed at prolonging Mnangagwa's tenure would be invalid because such changes cannot apply to the sitting office holder. The relief sought includes a declaration that the president acted unconstitutionally, nullification of cabinet approval of the bill, and an interdict preventing Mnangagwa from signing, assenting to, or otherwise advancing the legislation in ways inconsistent with the constitutional provisions governing political rights and amendment procedures. The legal challenge highlights intensifying tensions over the proposed constitutional reforms, which critics say could fundamentally reshape Zimbabwe's governance system. Government officials, however, have defended the bill, saying it introduces constructive reform aimed at strengthening democratic structures, clarifying institutional mandate, and aligning Zimbabwe's constitutional framework with the processes adopted in other jurisdictions. The Constitutional Court is expected to set timelines for responses from the President and Attorney General before deciding whether the matter proceeds to a full hearing. Meanwhile, the Speaker of Parliament, Jacob Mdenda, gazetted the bill on Monday, starting the clock on a 90-day public consultation period before the draft law is brought to vote before MPs and senators. With ZANU-PF holding a two-thirds parliamentary majority, passage of the bill is widely expected if party discipline holds. Opposition CC MPs are also expected to back the amendment for personal benefit, as that will also extend their term by a further 2 years. Prominent constitutional lawyers say the scale of the proposed changes require a referendum, even if Parliament approves them. The government insists no referendum is required, a dispute that also appears to be headed for the Constitutional Court. Right. So interesting, a very, very interesting what we are watching unfolding right before our eyes. But Chateau Ziva, Kuti, these guys are just whistling past the graveyard. These guys just trying to build castles in the air. These guys are phoning themselves. Saka ameno ndo mamirira akaita kunze, asi constitution yacho haina kana kumborashika zvayo pane zvinofanirwa kuitika, haina kutombodhakwa pane zvinofanirwa. Endai munovhunza maZimbabweans and find out kuti maZimbabweans vari kutenderana nemeri panyaya iyo. Kana maZimbabweans akati no, zvatovharana. Kana maZimbabweans akati yes, ndizvozvo, ndo varidzi vebumbiro remutemo, ndo varidzi veconstitution. AmaZimbabweans ivo avanikazi veconstitution. Akula muntu oyi-one olamandla awokuchinja i-right yamaZimbabweans ukuthi kube yibo abakhulumayo ukuthi kwenziwa njani in terms of how the constitution protects the rights of the Zimbabwean masses and nation. Saka pari kutapira nyaya iyi remains the topical issue, especially these days. Tichiramba tichiona zvigananda zvichida kuramba zvichizviudza kuti whether maZimbabwe anoda kana haadi varoda kuita baiginya. They've always been doing zvinhu baiginya kakubvira nakubvira. Saka vanongofungidzira kuti vachangoramba vachibudirira, but kune imwe ichavamedza kana iri sei this one ndinoisuspect hama dzangu. I suspect this one zviri serious kuti iyi ndo nyaya ichavanyudzai. But let's continue to pray for the nation. Chinamatira kuti Mwari ngavaise confusion mukembe yemhandu. Chiziva kuti Mwari watinonamata akatendeka. Season yedu yakunhuhwirira yekusununguka kwenyika. Let's keep praying, let's keep believing, and let's keep standing.